Thank you so much for tuning into the Woman to Woman podcast, a conversation for women like you, smart, successful, curious, and interested in being your best self. Join both Sarah and I as we discuss topics that women our age are actually interested in, with both of us being candid and often having differing views.
As coaches, we sprinkle in advice and tips, along with humor and vulnerability. We hope you feel like a fly on the wall with two friends. Let's entertain and inform you and welcome you into our friendship.
We appreciate you pressing play and spending some time with us, wherever you are in the world.
Let the magic happen.
I am so excited to welcome you to today's episode where I get to share my favorite baby with you, which is human design. In this episode, we go briefly over the different energy types, what human design is, how it's affected our lives, how we implement what we have learned, how we feel about our energy types, the different people we know with energy types. There is so much to learn. You are guaranteed to walk away with something you didn't know. We also will link in the episode how you can find your human design chart, and we look forward to hearing your feedback on this episode, because wait till the end, there's also a giveaway. Let's get started.
Angela, today we are in January and I am excited because we have been mentioned that in our previous episode. And so, first of all, how are you?
I'm good. I'm hot, thank God. Yes. Warm
It's
here.
summer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, so I'm so excited today because I really want that we get this explained to our people, and it's about human design. We refer it in most of our episodes. Most of the time we give ourselves, the reason, oh yeah, but I'm a manifestor generator, or I'm a generator. And I understand that our audience does not know, what is human design. And I want you to give us, that explanation about what it is. What is this new science that come into our life now? People start popping everywhere knowing human design, how it changed lives, and what is it? Tell us, what is it?
Okay, I'm so excited to do this episode so we can sort of share our language with our audience. And I really encourage everyone to try and find out a little bit more about human design, because out of all the modalities I have ever come across, this one is the most practical and spot on. Like it really, I have a lot of faith in it. And that is due to really just research. Do you know what I mean? So before I became a human design reader, I just checked with everyone I knew to make sure that it reflected back, and it did. So, however, we will link on our page how to find your chart. So we need to start there. Now, you do need your birth time in order to find your chart, but most of us have an idea, if we were born in the morning or the evening. So I do say that, if you get it within a 2-hour time frame, you will usually get your energy type correct. So you go to Jovian Archive, get my chart, put your details in, and you can find out what your design is so you can follow along today. Okay, so that's really important. The link will be in the description. Okay, so human design. Human design is officially, it's called the science of differentiation. And differentiation means how we are all different. So it's just so exciting because it embraces everyone's individuality. And I feel like it gives you a permission slip and an understanding. So a permission slip to be yourself and an understanding of who you are. And when you get your chart read, it just resonates with like, how did you know that? That you're whatever you are, however you deviate from the norm, because none of us are normal. So what it means is that we're all individually different, and yet we are raised in a homogenous society which just begs us to all be the same, all be normal, all just go to school, go to university, get married, die. You know what I mean?
Fitting in a mold that the society created. Yes, exactly.
So, exactly. And this is a huge point of discussion at the moment. We're all starting to realize that that image, that cookie cutter image of being normal is just breaking down. And it's so exciting. And so obviously that's happening in race and gender and really exciting things. But human design breaks it down even more to say that our energy operates differently and we have different strengths. Do you know what I mean? And it encourages us to live life the way that our body wants to. And it really, and I know you love this part, it really encourages you to follow your intuition. That's one of the biggest things it does. And one of the biggest gifts human design has, you know, there's so many, but it actually pinpoints how your intuition talks to you. And it just, again, it's a permission slip. You know, if I'm doing a reading, I do not know you better than you know yourself. But when I say something that is a private, intimate experience you have in your body and that resonates with you, you're like, you know, mind blown. And that's got nothing to do with the reader. You know, it's got nothing to do with the reader. It has got to do with the fact that human design is the blueprint and the manual of how you were meant to operate. And we just didn't get given that. So what I do want to say is where human design is pulled from. So it came, it's a relatively new science / you know, spiritual modality. It was called into our planet in the 80s, in the late 80s. So it's very, very new. And it is based off other ancient systems, and they all come together. So it mixes the science of genetics and quantum physics with principles from ancient philosophies of the Chinese I Ching, astrology, Kabbalah, and the Hindu Brahmin chakra system. And they all come together. So it's science, you know, and ancient philosophy into a, you know, a blueprint that you can use. And it's so practical. And we do call it, because it is a science of differentiation, we call it the human design experiment. So when you either get a reading, or I will give you some very short, simple tips for each design today, each energy type, that you can actually implement. So human design is not to gather information into your brain. It is to take away a couple of practical tips that you can actually use and implement into your life to bring you into more alignment, flow, and onto your path.
Indeed, indeed. I love that. I'm really excited because I have to admit that Angela is the one who did my human design reading. And I'm going to share that experience later in this episode for sure. But it's definitely knowing yourself better. And it's not even knowing something new. It's just helping you to pinpoint, you know, that memories, that remembrance that you already have. But it's exactly like Angela said, when she's just talking to you about you are like this because you have that design, then suddenly you're like, yes, exactly. Can you just, before we start doing the design of each human energy type, can you just tell us the conflict that we have, you know, between the conditioning and the design? You know, what is the purpose of knowing your design?
Okay, so conditioning is luckily another word that is really coming out these days, and that's part of that homogenous society. So, for instance, if you have a small child who is actually, you know, supposed to be big, let's say, be energetically big in the family. They are the leader of the family. The family will push them down and go, yo, you're a kid, shush, I make the decisions. Whereas actually it is correct to give them their power, obviously, you know, within limits, but that's a good example of someone being conditioned. So you are a big energy, you are a leader, you are a natural, impact maker in the world. And if someone sees that and squashes you down, the school system will certainly squash you down. Then when you come out at the end of that at 18, you have been conditioned. You've been conditioned to be small, to be quiet, to be a people pleaser, and that being yourself, your natural leader, qualities, your uniqueness, your one track mind to do what is right for you, it has been conditioned out of you. So deconditioning, which is what human design brings to the world, is they're like, excuse me, you were actually born to be big. You were born to be a leader. You are a huge energy force. And that person who is now small and like, oh, yes, please, no, thank you, says, oh, yeah, that's right. How do you know that? Like, I'm so nice and kind to everyone and don't ask for anything. How do you know that inside my heart, I'm supposed to be big? I'm supposed to be a leader. Yes, I feel that. And it's not that anyone else knows you better. It's just that they're like, excuse me, that's who you're supposed to be. And so then you have to decondition and throw away all this smallness, all of this fitting in, all of this people pleasing. And that is exactly deconditioning. So you can kind of look at conditioning as someone throwing on jumpers and jackets on you throughout your life. And deconditioning is one by one, throwing off each layer of what is not you and having the permission to start living as yourself.
I love the way you describe it. I really love it. I really hope that people understand that it's really important, and we're going to share our personal experience. But let's go now for the design type. Maybe you can. What we can inform is that here we're going to describe the very basics, which it's composed of energy type. There is only 5. Angela will go through one by one, but this is just the very first layer, which is so thin, but already with that information, you're gonna know, well, oh yes, that sounds and looks like me. But then after that, if you look at the chart itself, it looks like so complicated and so complex, and yes, it is. And it has every numbers, every colored, every circle, every line, empty or filled, with red or blue, but depending on where you look at in your website. Every single details is an information about who you are. So it goes extremely, extremely deep. But here in this episode, we are just going to talk about the very first layer, the very basics, so you understand what it is and how it can change life. Okay? So maybe, what I want to say is that it exists millions of profiles, possibility, okay? Because all of that, it's like, it seems too complicated, but it isn't once you start learning how to read it. So there is not only, it's like astrology. I want to make this point, is that there is always this 12 zodiac sign, or this 12 Chinese zodiac sign. It's not like a 1/12 of the population. It's going to happen exactly the same thing, on that day, on that month, because this is what, it becomes astrology. Is like, okay, yeah, well, this year it's going to happen this to you, or this month, this is what we call horoscope, right? But your design, your birth chart is filled with so much more information. And I'm currently learning in depth astrology. So I can tell you whatever I've been told as a Virgo is just the very basic, is that thin line. But underneath, there's so much more information. And human design, it's exactly the same. So let's start with which one are we starting today?
We'll start with the generator, but just to add on to what you say, there's actually 2, when I said that it's very practical, the 2 main steps that you take to decondition is actually your energy type and then your strategy. I won't talk about strategy today, but we may have another episode for that. So while human design is extremely complicated, actually learning your energy type is a very big part of how you decondition, and it is step number 1. So actually the information I give you today will be hugely impactful. And they say in human design it takes 7 years to decondition, but living as your energy type and making decisions according to that and making moves in your life according to that will actually dramatically change your life. So yes, it's the first step, but it's a big one. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, so we're going to start with a generator. Now, the reason I'm starting with that is because the majority of our population are generators. So, and you're a hybrid type, but you are part generator. So there's only one hybrid type, which is a manifesting generator, and I'll get to that towards the end. Sarah knows more about that than I do. But a generator, they are 70% of our population. So the world is based around the generator type. So these types have energy. You are an energy type. You are born with a sacral. So the sacral comes from the chakras. You are born with sacral energy, and you are actually here, to work, to create, to light up the world, to use your energy and generate more energy out into the world. So that's why you're called generators. And there is just one trick to that that sounds perfect. But the way that you create energy and that you use your energy is by living from your passions, from your desires, and from what you want to do officially, from what lights you up, from what excites you. And the conditioning that has been given to generators is that you guys have energy. So you need to go out there, you need to work hard, you need to help people, you need to say yes to whoever asks for your help. You need to just go, go, go and do, and don't pay attention to what you actually want. Because energy generators instinctively know that they have the energy to help people, to assist, to work, to take on more responsibilities. And so the biggest deconditioning for generator types is to actually start following their desires, their innate desires, to listen to their gut. So it's a very common phrase out in the world. Oh, I followed my gut. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't sure what to do. Oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'm listening to my gut. So the intuition, generators can have more than just gut intuition. However, so you need to get a reading to find out exactly what your strategy is, or your authority, sorry. But all generators have a gut who speaks to them. And a really interesting thing is that if you find out you are a generator and you have any gut issues or stomach aches or, nausea and stuff, that's actually a physical sign that you are not living your design. So a lot of your energy and a lot of things in your physical body are coming from your gut. But you guys are pure life force in motion. You have the energy. And another thing that you guys have to decondition from is people pleasing and not having correct boundaries in place, to say no and to protect your energy so that you have enough to use on the things that actually light you up. So this is why I think boundary work and learning to say no and people pleasing and perfectionism, that's a really common in, this particular in the coaching realm. And that is because such a large percentage of the population are generators, and that's why our society is built on 9-to-5 work, because, 70% of the population are generators and they can work 9-to-5. They can even, work from 6 to 8 if they want to. They have the energy. But that is not actually the optimal way for human beings to work. And I don't want to get into that, but I think we all know that those structures and systems are breaking down. And all I can say for generators is to start learning to listen to your gut, to follow your desires more, and to learn to say no.
I love it because just as an aparté, this is French. Surprisingly, it's the most people that are living on this earth, and yet you don't know one generator.
Oh yeah, sorry. So yeah, we were going to talk. I do, of course, I do, just not in my immediate family, being my partner or my son, and or myself. But my mum is a generator.
Oh, okay.
Now I can give you an example of, she's actually someone who has extreme stomach problems, and she is a generator who is not living her design. She always had a lot of energy, and she was the one in our family. I have to find out what my dad is actually, but I know he wasn't a generator because he didn't have the energy of my mum. And she was, sadly, and yet in some ways happily for her, but she was quite a slave to our family. Do you know what I mean? She did not teach us, to do enough for ourselves. And she was just, running around, cooking meals, cleaning, being that mother. She also worked because she's someone who had the energy, but she certainly did not a lot of the time do what she desired at all. She's a huge people pleaser, and she has all the problems that are really common to generators. So,
Okay,
do
okay.
you do you know a generator living their design?
So two of my kids are generators. The
Mm.
youngest and the second and the third one, they are generators. So
Mhm.
I think it's a little bit too soon to tell, but surprisingly, there is
Oh,
still,
it's not too soon. It's not too
yeah,
soon to tell. Kids
probably,
are
yeah.
living their design. Kids live their design.
Exactly. So the thing is that their way to say no, it's like very sharp. You know, when it's no,
Exactly.
it's like very sharp. And every time I'm like, well, can you just put some, color in your no, But I mean, the 3 years old, she does not understand that, but the 5 years old is more like, he's understanding, is trying to understand. But yes, he's definitely. I mean, I mean, this is what I recognized in what you said is that they are not people pleasing. That's for sure.
So your job as a mother is not to knock that out of them. So your job as a mother is to encourage them to listen to their stomach. And you can actually say, how does that feel in your tummy? And there's another thing that I didn't say about generators is they respond really well to yes or no questions. So as a mother, you shouldn't say to them, oh, okay, what would you like to have for breakfast? You should say, would you like a waffle today? And they'll say yes or no. Or would you like eggs? And they'll say yes or no. Or you can say, would you like a waffle or eggs? And then the one that likes them up the more, then they'll say, I want eggs. But if you say, what do you want for breakfast? They will be like, I can't respond to that. So what I didn't say, which is actually incredibly important, but because there's so much to say, it's hard to,
Yes.
narrow it down. But what I should say is that the way generators' energy works in the world is they need to respond to what's in front of them. So they are not supposed to just jump into their head and think of something. They are supposed to be in the world and use their gut to respond to what's coming to them. And then that is really all they need to know to start getting into alignment. So if you
All right.
say to them, what do you want for breakfast? They jump out of their body and into their head. And that is not what we want because your
Okay.
intuition does not live in your head. Mm.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Next one.
Next one is manifester. Now, manifester is much smaller part of the population, only around 10. And actually, as we go forward from here, they will be even less. They are not as needed because manifestors are the leaders of this world and they are meant to make an impact. And because of technology and globalization, some small impacts that they make can go so much further. So we don't need as many manifestors. So it's quite a rare type. And the example that I was giving earlier about, you are a born leader, you have a lot of energy. When you walk into a room, people know who you are. That is a manifester. They are here to make impacts. They are not here to people please and make a million friends. Their aura is actually a very repelling aura. So they don't get offended when you don't like them. they actually repel a huge amount of people, and they attract in only the people who are meant for them. So they have a very protective aura, and they don't. And my son is a manifester, and he's a true manifester. He lives his design. And as a mother, I find that quite difficult because manifestors are the leaders of the family, and they are here to inform. So because they have such a big energy, and you know, in some ways, they are meant to not really care about what people think. They have to inform what they're doing. They don't have to ask for permission. If you have a manifestor child, you should teach them to ask for permission and kind of say, like, Mum, I'm going to the trampoline, for example. That's what my son will say. He won't, please, can I go to the trampoline? But that's not what he's supposed to do. I'm going to the trampoline. And then I will, you know, unless we were about to get in the car, I'll be like, okay, you do that. Do you know what I mean? But he has to tell me. But if he was just to run out of the house and go on the trampoline without informing me, I would have a bad reaction. But once you teach them to inform and just say, I'm going to do this, then everything in the world is right. But imagine if you had a manifestor child and you taught them, hey, you don't do that. You don't have the power to tell me what you're doing. You will ask for permission for everything. You will do exactly what I say and nothing about what you say. That's the wrong way to raise a manifestor. So a manifestor is a big energy. They are here to inform. They are here to start movements. They are here to start projects. They're not always here to continue them. They do not have that constant energy of a generator. They work in ebbs and flows. So they also have to, they have like urges sent to them. So like say they have an urge to start a business and it's a natural urge, then they may have enough energy for a few weeks to just keep working. And sometimes they may keep working like through the night and the next day, and they're on a huge surge, and then they will drop. They'll hire a few people, obviously, to carry on their work because they are leaders. They are not workers. And then their energy will dip, and they'll probably spend a couple of weeks on the couch. Or it can even happen in a day, whereas they have a surge of energy for 5 hours, and then they'll have a rest. So their energy comes in fits and starts. So it's very different. But I can definitely talk about being a manifestor mum and what a manifestor is like. But you give an example of your own son.
Yes, I have my own son as well. So the biggest, the eldest is a manifester as well. And I still need to learn from it. But last time we were sharing this, you were sharing some stories about your son, you know, doing like not caring about what other things, you know, and just going at their own pace. And I know that it's hard. That is very hard because additionally he's different from his brothers and sisters, and it's just like he is going at his own pace. He is literally going at his own pace, but he can get things done. Seriously, he can get things done. And but yes, there's still a few things. The manifesto is probably the design that I know the less, because it's still something that I need to discover. So raising a manifestor is, I can see sometimes, you know, in the morning, you know, taking his time for breakfast, where you tell him it's time to go to school now. Yeah, just hold on, you know, and somehow he's making it, you know. It's just like, for you, it's just like, come on, we're late. And he's still finishing his breakfast normally, not even, you know, rushing himself or whatever. It's just like, you know, different from me. So, yeah, I'm still learning about that.
Can I ask a question? Does this informing, you know, like, does he tell you what he's going to do? And you should get him to ask permission too. That's how, you know, that's how they learn to tell people what they want to do. And, you know, children obviously have to ask. But are you encouraging that? Because that's the biggest step.
Okay, so when we talk about video game, it's no. I'm not asking him to ask. I mean, he has to ask permission for it, and I have to set up rules for it because this is my way of educating my kids. So this is no way I want. I still set up my rules. However, when he's going out and playing outside, it's fine. He does not even ask to. He does not even need to ask. When he's going to the pool, though, he's informing me that he's going to the pool. And what I told him last time is that sometimes they go in the neighbor house, right? And I don't know which one because they have many friends here. And I did not know where he was. I was calling, Miles, where are you? And then every neighbors were out. I was texting everyone and say, where is he? And so I told him, you need to tell me. I don't mind if you go to your friend's house. That's not a problem. But you need to tell me where you are. So you need, before you go into anyone's house, you tell me in which house you are. So I know. And so since then, I just need to tell him once. And it's done. And he's just telling me now every time that he's in someone's house. And that's it. So yes, I do. I do that, but not for everything, Like the rules that I don't want in my house, the rules that I am setting up for TV, YouTube, and video games. This it's no way. I'm not asking them to inform me because it's me. I decide. Yeah.
But you should allow him to listen to himself or when he wants to play them. So just so that he learns to not ignore himself, but to find the point. Obviously, I'm not saying if a manifestor child says, I want to sit in my room and watch a game, all day long, every day, which is every child, you have to teach them limits and rules and all of that. But he should be able to say, like, and does he rest a lot? Do you find his energy is always up? Because he's got obviously a lot of generators in the house. Now, this is the other thing. Conditioning also comes from other people's energy. So I really like my house because we're 2 projectors and a manifestor. So there's none of that generator energy conditioning us. Yeah, influencing. So we're all very big on rest here. But for your manifestor, if you said you've got 2 kids and your
2 generator and one manifestor.
And 2 manifesting generator parents, that poor manifestor is actually is going to need more rest than the other 4 people. So if I was doing a chart for your family, that's what I would let you know.
Okay, so
so he may need more gaming or TV time than the rest of you.
So he has his peak time. So he has peak time downtown, and I'm not sure. I think this happens to all the parents. I mean, that's what I want to think. Especially at nighttime, when there is getting darker, kids get overexcited. You don't know what happens, it's the moon or whatever. But they all become super excited at nighttime. And his peak is at nighttime, which is bothering me because to put in bed and then it's getting longer.
So I'll tell you a few things though. So if your generator kids are peaked at bedtime, that means that they haven't used enough energy throughout the day. So you need to exhaust the crap out of those kids because generators sleep really well when they have used their energy doing what they want. And for your manifestor, he actually needs time to release all the energy that he's picked up from you guys. So I would legitimately put him in a playroom or in his own bedroom and give him more time than the others to chill out. So drawing, something that's not stimulating. Playing with his trucks. I mean, I have no idea what he does, but not technology, and even listening to music or ASMR is really good for kids. So what I love about human design, and this is such a perfect example, is once you know how people operate and what their instructions are, you probably need to go and take your generated kids and put them on a treadmill or, I don't know, tell them to go ride their bike for 10 minutes at the same time that your manifestor is actually allowed to have quiet time in his room. So that is, that will help you, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Again, try and see if it works.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I will try because, as I said, manifestor is the design that I have to read the list, but of course, reflector is another one which I never had to. But manifestor is the one that I made the list. So Yeah, that's good. Let me try that. Let me try that. That's good. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Then,
Um,
next
so
one.
I'm gonna go with reflector. Now I've actually never read or met a reflector. Oh, that's not true. I actually had a reading from a reflector, but a reflector is very rare. Hence why I don't have too much personal experience with them. They are less than 1% of the population, and very very special and very rare. You know, like a diamond. Now, their relationship to energy is to reflect, to mirror, and reveal the person opposite them, or actually to reflect society or the tribe. So, if you do, so back in the olden days when we sort of more lived in tribes, a reflector was supposed to be in the middle of the tribe and reflecting the health of the tribe. So, a reflector is exactly as it sounds. They reflect what is around them. And so a healthy reflector means that they're in a healthy environment. And actually, environment and the people they surround themselves is one of the most important things if you are a reflector. Now, some of the challenges that reflectors have is similar to what I was just saying about your manifester, is they take on a lot of conditioning from around them. So they do need a lot of alone time and a lot of time to release what they've picked up from other people. Now, one part of human design is the energy centers. So the centers are also how we get conditioned, not just by, you know, society and talk and rules and stuff. We actually get energetically conditioned from those around us. And that's another whole fascinating part of human design to go into, and how to decondition. There's very, you know, depending on what parts of the energy centers, which are based on the chakras, but actually a couple more, is directly how you can decondition. But anyway, I don't want to get lost. And the other thing is, reflectors are very, very slow, and they are very slow to make decisions. And reflectors actually live by the moon. They are lunar beings. And so they renew every 28 days, and they also need to take a long time, often a 28-day cycle, to make decisions. So they're a very rare being, but then all of the other intricacies of human design come in about their gifts, their talents. But if you're a reflector, I really encourage you to get a reading, and because your environment, your world, and it really, really, really impacts you. So you need to know how to protect yourself, how to work with it. And but what I will tell you about a reflector, and it's why I decided to get a reading of a reflector, is when you are, you know, like partnered or friends or know a reflector, what you think about them is actually a reflection of who you are. So people love to be around reflectors because they actually reflect back to you who you are. So and so I was really curious to meet one and to have a, like, that was a secondary reading, that wasn't my first, and it was really interesting. I just wanted to have that experience.
I want to meet
Yeah.
a reflector. So if anyone here is a reflector, please raise your hand. I want to meet that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's all I can say because I don't know any personally.
Okay.
Now let's go for a manifesting generator, which is Sarah. So as I said before, a manifesting generator is a hybrid between that manifestor type. And so that's actually how you can learn your sun a little bit, because you are a hybrid of a manifestor and a generator, and which is a completely separate energy type called a manifesting generator. Now, Sarah, you are actually quite manifestor, so you can start things. So the reason that a manifestor is different to all the other types is that all the other types respond to life in some way. Reflectors and projectors differently to generators, but we all respond. And the only energy type that can start things and doesn't need to wait for anything is a manifestor. So that's kind of why they're big. And you definitely have some manifestor in you. Like, for example, this podcast was started by you. So you were like, you obviously, I hope, had that sacral desire. And then me as a projector, which I'll get to, I responded and I was like, yeah, that sounds good. You know what I mean? I listened to my authority and I decided to join. But that's the example of what a manifestor is. And so for a normal generator, if they wanted to start a podcast, for example, they could be in a conversation. And there's two people like us, for example, like we started a podcast and this was amazing. And then their sacral lights up and they're like, podcast, okay. And that is a response. And then they can start their podcast. Whereas I don't know how you came up with that idea, but you can start things. You have that energy. So a manifesting generator, the other hallmark of your type is that you are superhumans. You have so much energy. You can do so many different things. You are absolutely not supposed to live a linear life or do only one thing. Like, for example, be an expert in, an expert accountant and just go to university, only do accounting, die as an accountant. That is highly unlikely and not correct for a manifesting generator. You can absolutely be an accountant, but then you'll be an entrepreneur and you'll start a business, or you'll become an accountant, I don't know, whatever is on top of that, a financial director or something. And on the side, you might teach sporting events or something. You are really meant to take from lots of different things. And what will often happen is that you will actually end up starting a business or having a career where a few different things that you have learned, you will pull them together. Like imagine like a chiropractor who's also a kinesiologist and a naturopath, and he can provide vitamins and he can crack your neck, and also at the same time can give you an energy healing. Like that's an example of a manifesting generator. And a famous example, and I should have actually done this for all of them, but a really good famous example of a manifesting generator is like Jennifer Lopez, singer, actor, dancer, perfume, does, I don't know, a million things. She's a contestant and a judge on that show, a serious actress, serious singer. Another one is Jessica Alba, who is a mother, who is an actress and also has like this really big
company
business. Yeah. No, she has a huge business doing, I don't know, makeup and
she's doing kids stuff. And, yeah. She's doing kids
she
stuff.
Definitely does makeup as well. So, you can't just pin her down. And I think she's very serious about being a mother as well. So she's not just a mother, she's not just an actress, and she's not just an entrepreneur. She's actually all of them. She's multi-hyphenate, and that is what a manifesting generator is meant to do.
And I have to confirm actually that yes, there is this pull, when you are a manifestor generator, that you want to do many things at the same time. So if I just recap, I will try to recap all what I've learned in the last 3 years, but because it's not only the doing, it's also those learnings, and sometimes you're just like, it does not make sense why I'm learning all this stuff. So I just started 3 years ago with aromatherapy, and then I've been to coaching and then NLP. And then I have learned, human design. I have learned piano, to play piano. Of course, I keep working at my full-time job. What else? I now do this podcast. I'm sure that I'm doing tarot reading as well. What else I am doing? I'm gardening. I love gardening, and I will spend a lot of time gardening. What else? Which has completely nothing related to all of this.
What is it?
Qigong, of course, energy healing. I could have missed that because that's the main thing that I am doing. Qigong, so medical Qigong. This is how I heal people, their injuries. I heal people and I heal cats because all my cats have some small problems, so I need to be there for them. I'm healing my kids as well when they have fever. So this is going to be a complete different because when you launch me on this energy healing, it's definitely my passion. And so I'm practicing medical Qigong. I'm practicing as well Qigong flow. I did my yoga certification as well, the yoga teacher certification. So I did all of that in 3 years. And now I'm about to learn astrology. And I know, I mean, as a manifestor generator, we know that at some point we have that certainty that all of this will come in once, you know, and that's going to be something, maybe not all, but most of this, because they're all influenced by well-being anyway. So it's just, you know, how we're going to combine that. And we have those times of questioning, like, why am I doing all this? It does not, you know, make any sense. Why? So just don't stop yourself. Just do it, because this is how you get aligned with your design, and this is how you get things done. And my husband is also a manifesting generator, and he's the same, completely different opposite than mine, though we're not doing any activities in common, but he's also doing a lot of stuff. He's an IT engineer, not engineer, an IT developer. I'm sorry, every time I start in this, I don't know what he's doing, but he's in IT, and he has his own, he's working for a company, and then he has his own company, developing also something in the HR environment. He's doing dancing, so he's an hip-hop dancer. He's doing martial arts. I think he's tried them all. And he's doing as well music. So he's connecting to, I think he played like 5 different instruments since I know him. So he started before, of course. So, you know, it's just like we are doing 1,000 things at the same time or throughout our life. And that's okay, because this is what makes us happy. So we need to keep going. So we never stop. If this is calling you, just do it. Just do it. It's fine. It's you being aligned with your design.
And can I ask you something? All of those things that you started, did you finish them?
Ha! But this is more related to the profile, right?
No.
No? Okay.
Related to being a manifesting generator. They,
Oh,
they pick up really quickly, and they know when they've had enough. And this is about listening to your gut and your other authority, like depending on your own chart.
so the thing that I am the most passionate about, yes, I went to the end, but this remind me actually that I also did hypnotherapy certification.
Yeah.
And this one, I mean, now I picked up the things. I know how it works, and but you know, it's just that I'm using it very seldom in my coaching, because I have other techniques which works much better. So I would say that hypnotherapy is not the one that I have went into, you know, deep. But you know, sometimes it's just coming out and say, oh, maybe you want to finish that. Maybe you want to learn more. And there is this beautiful hypno. I mean, he's not about the therapist, but hypnotherapist on Instagram, and I love him. I follow him, and he's capable of doing magic stuff with hypnotherapy. And I just want, you know, every time I watch him, I'm like, I want to learn how to do that, even though I already know how to do it. But it's just that I've never experienced it. You know, when it's very important is that as a manifestor generator, you want to learn a lot of things, but you also need the time to integrate those things. If you really want to incorporate it at some point together, you need to get sometimes to incorporate it. So incorporation is meaning that either you try out, and then, you know, when I started human design, I started doing readings, you know, for people that I know, and I was telling them, oh, can I do this for you? Can I do that for you? And then yes, they were happy to do it, and that's how I practice it. And now I know more about, you know, human design. So it's that time of integrating hypnotherapy. I admit, I did few sessions. It was beautifully, but I don't feel resonating with this kind of method right now. But I know it will come later. So I will just jump back to it later.
So, well, that's the thing. So anyone who's a manifesting generator, or if you find out your kid is, it's actually totally normal. And the permission I would like to give you is that you are not supposed to finish everything. So this is the kind of child that will start ballet in grade 3 and then be like, no. And the parents will be like, rah, 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 I paid for your ballet lessons, you have to finish. But it's actually normal to allow a manifesting generator to listen to their body, their intuition, and their guidance, and say, no, now I want to play soccer. And maybe soccer will continue for 6 years. And then during soccer, they'll pick up painting, which will last 2 years. And then when they want to put painting down, so because even I heard you, do you know what I mean? You have some guilt in that you didn't finish everything. But actually, What I would love for you to do is to embrace that and say, no, I learned the skills of hypnotherapy that I needed. I listened to myself, and when I was done, I've put it down. I may pick it up later, but I learned what I needed, and I have integrated it and incorporated it, because it has a lot of similar, coaching things. So this is about deconditioning. Do you know what I mean? Accepting who you are. And society has told us that it's not correct to, pay for a course, for example, and not finish it. And I'm not necessarily giving you permission to just be an idiot and just never finish anything and have no direction. You have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your authority. And human design is about building self-trust. And I'm a big proponent of trusting yourself, which means not letting yourself off the hook and not ever achieving anything, but doing something for as long as it feels good. And the other thing about being a manifesting generator is you will leave things behind. Your life will change. Your life will, things that were a really important yes for you will become a no. And you have to learn to trust that it's all in the greater good. Self-trust is really, it's a big life lesson for a manifesting generator.
Yes. Let's move on with the projector, because I think we could talk about it for hours, and I just want to be conscious about the time. But yes, let's talk about the projector, because they are also very interesting.
Yes, projectors are really interesting. It's somewhat difficult living in the world as a projector, which is what I am, because the world is made for generators and to some degree manifesting generators, and projectors are about 20% of the population, and we are different. We are also non-energy beings like manifestors and reflectors, and so we don't have the energy. We find it hard to keep up with the world. And the permission that human design gave me when they told me that, I was like, oh my God, trying to keep up with this world has actually been really hard for me. Now, I did have a lot of self-trust and knowledge that 9-to-5 work was not for me. And as an adult, I have only done it once as an English teacher overseas. And I would say teachers don't always work 9-to-5 anyway. So I have legitimately can't do it, not for me. That doesn't mean that a projector can't work in a 9-to-5 job. It's probably not ideal for you, but you would have to spread out your workday. Anyway, this is a conversation for a much larger conversation for another time. But the way that projectors' energy interacts with the world is we are here to guide people. We are here to tweak particularly generators, how they use their energy, and to bring more efficiency to the world. So the reason why we don't need as much energy is because we get things done in a more efficient way. We are not the ones here to build the house. We are the ones to oversee how the house is built. We are the ones to be looking at the house and going, it's crooked, change it, do it this way, stop doing brick by brick, get a machine to do that. That'll be more efficient. We are here to guide people. And that impacted my life like you would not believe. I was already becoming a coach when I found human design, and but it just reaffirmed to me that, mentoring people, guiding people, teaching people, that's what I'm here to do. And just the permission that I felt from learning I was a projector changed my whole life, changed all my self-esteem, changed my self-understanding. Just being a projector and just having that language and that knowledge, and it just has changed my life. Even though I didn't work as hard as other people, I must admit I felt shame for that, and I felt not as capable as others. And now I'm so confident, feel so capable, know my value in guiding people, and I have human design to thank for that. And I actually love reading for projectors. Now, it can be a bit of a hard pill to swallow. For example, if you are a projector living as a generator, it's going to take time to start peeling off those pieces of clothing that you thought you had to do. When you are not the same as everyone else, which is everyone, but particularly non-energy type versus energy type. You know, when I hear Sarah say everything she's done, I was like, legitimately, I couldn't get that done in my entire lifetime, let alone 3 years. Or just every time we talk, she's like got a new expertise that I was just, you know, and I'm not jealous. I'm fascinated. Do you know what I mean? And I just don't understand how she does that. I have one child, I'm drowning. Do you know what I mean? She has three, fine. Like, it's just, we are different. And I don't feel any shame or guilt over that because I know I'm a projector. And having the language to understand yourself is just so incredibly powerful. But yeah, for any of my projectors out there, you know, all I can say is learn about your type, which is, oh, and the other thing is really important, how your energy interacts with the world.
Yeah.
Is that you have to be invited into things. And one of the biggest problems for projectors is that we don't feel seen, and we desperately want to feel seen and recognized. And the trick to that is to see and recognize your own gifts, your own purpose, your own value, and to really start to understand you're not here to do work, you are here to guide. Doesn't mean you don't work, and I actually work very hard in both being a parent and a coach on this podcast, although Sarah does more than I do. And, you know, because that is who I am, you know what I mean? And so seeing your own value allows other people to recognize your value and to see you, but you have to see yourself first and the value that you bring. And that's how you start to decondition. But being a projector is awesome.
I like it as well. I like reading projector and manifestor generator because these are the two types that I know the most because I'm surrounded. I have lots of projector. And the thing is that what I feel as well is that, you know, for example, in terms of relationship, when you know your profile, you know, I know that Angela is a projector, so she won't achieve the amount of work that I can achieve. And that's good because we're complementary. In this case, let me do the work. I do the work. I mean, the editing and stuff like that. Let me do it. I know how to do it. I know how to learn it fast. And I know how to do it fast. So it's fine. Let me do it. And she is going to bring up, you know, another expertise in the podcast. And that's okay. It's just like matching perfectly the way that we are. And I know as well that I want to emphasize the inviting things because I know that a lot of projectors struggle with that because we want, you know, as you know already before everyone else, what is their problems, where they could be helped. You know, you already have the solution for the people. And but the thing is that if you are not invited, if the people in front of you is not asking you the questions, you know, to invite you to share your guidance and your you know what you feel about the environment and the situation, whatever you're going to say, it's going to go through directly to the bin. And this is where you're going to start building up frustration on top of that because you will feel like you're fighting against, you know, the water, which is useless, right? But the moment, and I know that for sure because Angela is here, and every time I need guidance, I go through Angela. And I will go as well to my best friend who is also a projector, even though she is not necessarily living by a design, fully a design for sure. But for sure, every time I want for guidance, boom, they are my go-to person. I'm going to them first, for sure. Because they have that... how to say, they have that way of seeing the event and the situation that it's totally different from the energy type. So definitely it's I mean that's where they are so valuable to have in your life. Having a projector in your life, if you're not a projector yourself, is definitely a beautiful type to have around you to help you, you know, understand things and step out. Because manifestor generator, we just go straight. We don't even look right or left. We don't care. We just go, and sometimes, you know, we just miss stuff, and so then we feel a little bit off road. And I like going back to my projector friends and, you know, say, okay, what did I miss? What is happening right now? And then boom, Angela is always going to come back to human design type and you know, making me feel in my body what is going on. And then my best friend will just give me, you know, some oversight and nice advice, you know, as well. So I like projector for that, and that's why I love reading for projector as well, because you have such a gift that others don't have. So it's definitely a valuable to have in your surrounding.
That was said perfectly. I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so because we are running almost an hour, which is more than expected in our podcast, I just want that now we share, because yes, we kept a surprise for you for this end of episode. So for everyone we're sharing the most before the end of January. So you have 2 weeks now to share this beautiful podcast and talk about it around you. The person who is going to share the most the podcast, just send us a screenshot about you sharing the podcast, and the one sorry.
No, how are they going to do that? Tag us?
So
or?
it's either you tag us, or if it's on a platform that you don't have, you can also just share us on, you know, the screenshot wherever you have shared this podcast. You can also share us. We have an email address. You can also find us on Instagram, on Facebook. You already have our link, so we're gonna put it back again. Just share it. Just share it. The person who is the two person who is sharing the most, he's going to receive a free reading. So the full design reading about what you need to know to start living your life aligned with your energy type. So we're going to go much more in details than what we just said in this episode. We're going to give you, you know, exactly what you need to start living by your design. So just start sharing. We're more than happy to do that for you. So it's going to be one person reading by Angela and the other one by me. And we're going to do that for you. And thank you so much for listening to us. Hope you learned something today, because definitely I keep learning every time that we talk about human design. I keep learning new stuff. So I love that so much.
Me too. Yep. So we'll draw the winner, or we'll decide on the winner in February.
Yes, first week of February. So you have until 31st of January to just participate and share this podcast as much as you wish. So we wish you a beautiful day. Thank you for being with us. And I'll see you to the next episode.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and every time you listen, we truly appreciate it. And if you would like to follow me or learn more about my work or get in contact with me, please go to my website, which is angelajanecoaching.com.
And if you want to know more about my work, you can go on sarahmeng.com. All the details are going to be listed in a comment below. You can also follow us on social media, Instagram or Facebook, where we are sharing our daily tips.
Bye.
Hope to see you soon.